Welcome to Life Stories, where the truth always finds a way to surface, even when we least expect it. Imagine the day you thought would be the happiest of your life, your daughter's graduation. You're surrounded by friends, family, and the love that should fill the room. But then, in a moment of shock, everything changes. The person you've spent years of your life with, your partner, your confidant, stands up, raises a glass, and announces that they've decided to leave you. No warning, no apology, just a cold truth that feels like a betrayal of everything you've built together. What do you do when the world you've known crumbles in front of you? How do you move on when the person you loved most shatters your life? Stay with us, because what happens next will not only change everything for one woman, but will redefine what it means to reclaim your power. Let's dive into the story of Jessica's journey to find herself after the unimaginable. The restaurant buzzed with laughter and the clinking of glasses, the kind of noise that filled the air with the promise of celebration. Guests had gathered in the cozy, private room to honor Lily, Jessica Williams' daughter. It was supposed to be one of those moments, the ones you think you'll remember forever, etched in the happiness of family milestones. But for Jessica, this was no ordinary night. Her heart swelled with pride as Lily, radiant in her cap and gown, smiled brightly across the table, the same smile that had filled her with warmth ever since the day she was born. But that night, her husband Ryan would make sure nothing would ever be the same. As the last course was cleared and laughter softened into murmurs, Ryan stood. He raised his champagne glass, the crystal catching the light, making it shimmer. The room fell silent, expectant. This was it, the toast, the moment to celebrate their daughter's achievements. But Jessica's smile faltered as Ryan spoke words that would tear their world apart. "I've decided to start a new life without Jessica," he announced, his voice steady yet somehow cold, void of the warmth that had once existed between them. The room froze. It wasn't a dramatic outburst. No shouting, no glasses shattering. No, this was much worse. This was calculated, a deliberate strike. Jessica didn't flinch. She didn't shout or cry as everyone expected her to. Instead, she smiled. It was a smile so calm, so composed, it made Ryan hesitate, his hand still gripping the glass. "Here," she said, pulling a cream-colored envelope from her purse and placing it on the table between them with casual precision. "This is for you." Lily, still in her graduation gown, turned her eyes to her mother, her face pale, confusion and sorrow swimming in her gaze. "Mom, what are you doing?" Her voice quivered. Jessica leaned down, pressing a kiss to Lily's forehead, the weight of everything pressing on her chest. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Today is your day. Don't let anyone take that from you." And with that, Jessica stood. She turned away from the bewildered room. The people who had once smiled at her over dinner, now looking away, as if they were the ones caught in a lie. The restaurant's heavy wooden door slammed behind her with an echo that seemed to reverberate across time. Outside, the humid Georgia air hit her like a wave. But she welcomed it. She felt alive. Behind her, Ryan's voice broke through the night stillness. "Jessica, stop. What are you doing? Are you crazy?" But Jessica didn't stop. Her pace was steady, determined. She gripped her purse tighter, feeling the second envelope inside, one she had prepared for this exact moment. Divorce papers. Evidence of Ryan's betrayal. She could almost feel the satisfaction of taking control again. She had been patient, silent for so long. But now, she would make him face the consequences of his actions. When she reached the street corner, she turned around. Ryan was there, haggard, frantic, clutching the envelope like it was the last shred of hope he had. "What is this, Jessica?" He was nearly breathless, staring at the stack of documents she had handed him. "How did you?" "Sometimes it only takes one person to be careless, and another to be patient," she said, her voice cold, unwavering. Ryan's hands trembled as he read through the papers. "You can't use this against me. The prenup expired years ago." Jessica let out a soft laugh, the bitterness of it biting. "You should have read it more carefully when you signed it." She let the silence stretch out between them before adding, "Clause 14. It remains valid throughout the marriage." Ryan's face went ashen. "No way. Lauren and I?" We had plans, a new house, a new life. Jessica's eyes narrowed. Your new life, Ryan? Well, you can start from scratch because you've lost everything. Your bank account? Frozen. Your house? Not yours anymore. Ryan recoiled as if she had slapped him. His lips trembled. You're destroying me. No, Jessica replied, her voice sharp as steel. You've been destroying yourself for months. I'm just letting you deal with the consequences. As the cab arrived, Jessica slid inside without another glance at him. The door slammed shut between them, and as the car drove away, she felt the weight of the past 20 years lift off her shoulders. She was free. But even as she drove away, the story wasn't over. The phone call came just hours later. It was Ryan. She knew he would come crawling, but what he said next was something she hadn't expected. Please, Jessica, his voice cracked. We once loved each other. There's got to be something left. Please, can we talk? How do you react when someone who's hurt you asks for forgiveness? Can you ever truly move on? What happens when you finally take control of your own story? Jessica felt a strange emptiness fill her chest. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness, it was peace. The end of one story meant the beginning of another. As she hung up the phone, she knew this was the last time Ryan would try to pull her back into his world. The next morning, as the sun rose over the historic streets of Savannah, she walked into her office for the first time, ready to rebuild, not just her life, but the future she deserved. And just as she was about to settle into her new routine, a knock at the door changed everything once again. The person standing on the other side? It was someone she thought she'd never see again. Someone who would force her to confront the truth about everything. About Ryan, about herself, and about the choices that had defined her life. The knock at the door was soft, tentative. Jessica hesitated for a moment, the weight of the night's events pressing heavily on her chest. Her office had become her sanctuary, the place where she'd slowly started to rebuild, not just her career, but her life. The rhythmic tapping of the rain against the windows seemed to mirror the frantic pace of her thoughts. She hadn't expected any visitors today, especially not after everything that had happened. With a deep breath, she stood up from her desk, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor as she approached the door. Her hand hovered over the handle, a chill of uncertainty creeping up her spine. She had long since learned that life was never quite as simple as it seemed, and the last few months had made that clearer than ever. But who could it be? She had no family left in town, no close friends who hadn't already shown their true colors, except for Diana. Slowly, she opened the door, and the sight before her stole the air from her lungs. Standing in the doorway, drenched from the rain, was Ryan. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, as if he hadn't slept in days. His clothes were disheveled, his once immaculate appearance now reduced to someone who had lost everything. For a moment, Jessica just stared at him. She didn't know what she felt, anger, pity, or something far more complicated. His presence, unexpected and unwanted, hit her like a punch to the gut. She had closed that chapter of her life. She had made her peace, embraced her newfound strength. And yet there he stood, a ghost from the past she thought she had buried. Jessica, his voice cracked, barely above a whisper. I need to talk to you. She didn't say anything at first. The last time she'd seen him had been after the divorce papers had been served. He had crumbled in front of her, his world unraveling, and now here he was, a broken version of the man who had once promised her everything. Ryan, she said quietly, her voice firm but calm, what are you doing here? I couldn't let things end like this, he said, stepping forward, as if the rain-soaked air between them had become too heavy. I've lost everything that mattered, and it's all my fault. I can't. He stopped himself, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I don't know where to go from here, Jess. I don't even know who I am anymore. Jessica felt a sharp pang of emotion, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in weeks. His desperation was palpable, and for a brief moment, she was tempted to let him in, to hear him out, to comfort him the way she once would have. But then she remembered. She remembered the months of betrayal, the lies, the secrets he had kept hidden, the woman he had chosen over her. No, she said, her voice steady, but her heart racing. No, Ryan, you made your choice a long time ago, and I'm not the person you can turn to now. His eyes welled up, the guilt and regret almost suffocating him. I know I messed up, but please, Jess, please, I need your help. I'm lost. I don't know how to fix this. You were my life. Jessica stepped back, closing the door a little, just enough to make the distance between them clear. You're not lost, Ryan. You've just lost your way, and that's something you'll have to figure out on your own. His hand shot out, stopping the door from closing completely. Please, don't do this. Don't shut me out. I don't have anyone left. For a moment, Jessica was silent. She could feel her heart softening, the old memories of their life together stirring within her. She remembered the man she had loved so fiercely, the man who had promised to always be there. But that man no longer existed. This broken man before her was a stranger. Ryan, she said slowly, her voice filled with a quiet strength that she hadn't even realized she had until now. I'm not the woman you abandoned. You lost me when you made your choices, and I'm not going to let you drag me back into your mess. His face crumpled, the last bit of hope fading from his eyes. So this is it then? You're done with me? Jessica's heart wrenched at the question. She had spent so many years trying to hold on to something that wasn't real anymore. She had made excuses for him, forgave him over and over, until there was nothing left to give. She looked at him one last time, the man who had once been her whole world, and for the first time, she felt no anger, no regret. She only felt relief. The pain of the past was finally fading. I've already forgiven you, Ryan, but forgiveness doesn't mean I'll ever forget. And it certainly doesn't mean I'll let you back into my life. With that, she closed the door between them, and as she locked it, she felt a final, irrevocable shift within herself. She had moved on, and she had finally found peace. But peace, it seemed, was fleeting. Later that evening, as Jessica settled into her quiet apartment, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The knock on the door had shaken her, but the conversation had ended, or so she thought. As she stared out of the window, the weight of the evening's events pressing heavily on her, the phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hesitant, she answered. Jessica, a familiar voice said. You don't know the whole story. How far can you truly let go of someone you once loved? Can closure ever really be final, or is it something you only tell yourself to get through the pain? The words lingered in her mind like a shadow. The truth, she realized, was still out there, hidden in the corners of her past. And now, it seemed like someone was ready to reveal it. Jessica's fingers tightened around the phone as she took a deep breath, preparing herself for whatever came next. But what she heard would change everything. The voice on the other end wasn't Ryan's, and what they said next would leave her questioning everything she thought she knew about her marriage, her life, and the choices she had made. What could this new revelation mean for Jessica? Is there more to the story than Ryan ever let on? The truth is closer than she thinks, and it's about to surface in the most unexpected way. The voice on the other end of the phone sent a chill down Jessica's spine. It wasn't Ryan. It wasn't anyone she had expected. The voice was deep, almost soothing in a way that seemed to make everything feel heavier. Jessica, it's Charlotte Reynolds, the attorney said. I've just received something. You need to hear this. Her heart began to race. Charlotte was the one who had helped her through the divorce, the one who had guided her with clarity and no-nonsense advice. But now her voice, usually so confident and assured, was shaky, like she was holding back something monumental. What is it? Jessica asked, her voice tight. I don't know how to say this, but you were right, Charlotte continued. The man you thought you were divorcing, Ryan Monroe, there's more to the story. You need to come down here now. I have something I believe you need to see. It's about the prenup. It's about everything. Jessica's pulse quickened. What could be more? She had everything. Everything she needed to move on, to start over. She had walked away with her dignity, with a future ahead of her, free from the chains of a marriage that had been suffocating her for years. What more could there be to uncover? She was done with him. Wasn't she? A few minutes later, Jessica walked into Charlotte's office, the weight of her every step echoing in the hall. The office, with its sleek modern design, seemed unusually silent. Charlotte looked up as she entered, her face a study in concentration and concern. On the table in front of her was a thick folder, one that Jessica immediately recognized as belonging to Ryan. "I know this is hard, but Jessica, you need to see this," Charlotte said, sliding the folder across the desk toward her. Jessica sat down and flipped it open. As her eyes scanned the documents, her breath caught. She hadn't expected this. Among the pages detailing their financial assets, investments, and all the legal technicalities of their divorce, there was something new, something shocking. A letter. The letter was from the very beginning of their marriage, one she had never seen before. It was addressed to her, written by Ryan, but it was no ordinary love letter. In it, Ryan had confessed something Jessica had never known. He wasn't just marrying her for love. He was marrying her to secure his future, to position himself in a way that would protect him from the very things he feared the most: failure, poverty, and losing the comfort and status his marriage to her had provided. And then there it was, the twist. The letter spoke of a secret he had kept even from her. During the entire time they were married, Ryan had been investing money, her money, into various business ventures under false names. He had built a hidden portfolio, one that was now worth millions. The prenup that Jessica had thought was a tool for her protection? It was the key to Ryan's hidden fortune, a treasure trove that had always been there, buried beneath layers of lies. Jessica felt like she was drowning in the weight of the revelation. It was one thing to be cheated on emotionally, to be left for another woman. But this was a whole new betrayal. Ryan had not only taken her love for granted, but he had also taken her financial security, all the while planning his own escape with a fortune she had built. She had never suspected a thing. Every decision she had made for their family, every sacrifice she had given, had been manipulated by the very person who had sworn to stand by her side. Her mind swirled. She had walked away from him, from the house, from the life they had built. She had thought it was enough to leave him behind, to reclaim herself. But now there was this discovery that changed everything. What was she supposed to do with this knowledge? How could she move forward knowing that everything she had thought was real had been a lie? Charlotte watched her closely, sensing her turmoil. "Jessica, this is your opportunity," she said, her voice softer now. "You're not just fighting for what's yours anymore. This could change everything for you. You can take him down legally in a way that he never saw coming. You have the evidence, the leverage." Jessica closed the folder, her hands trembling slightly. She had worked so hard to get to this point. She had left him behind, walked away from a marriage that had turned toxic and suffocating. She had built something new, something all her own. Did she really want to go back to that world? Did she want to tear him apart even more? The man she had loved, the father of her daughter, the one who had once held her hand and promised her forever, was he worth this fight? Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar sound, the soft buzz of her phone, a text message from Lily. "Mom, I'm really proud of you." The words pierced through Jessica like a wave of clarity. She had done this for Lily. She had walked away for her daughter, for the future they could build together. She had done it for herself. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about taking Ryan down. It was about reclaiming her life, her truth, and her strength. With that, Jessica stood up, the decision settling in her chest. She wasn't going to let this consume her. Ryan had made his choices. He had tried to tear apart everything they had built, but she had rebuilt herself. It was time to let go for good. "I'll take him down, Charlotte," Jessica said, her voice strong, "but I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me." Have you ever had to face the truth about someone you loved deeply? How did you handle the moment when everything you thought was real came crashing down? As she left Charlotte's office, the rain had stopped. The streets of the city were calm, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. She looked up at the sky, a sense of peace filling her as she made her way home. This chapter was finally over. The next one was about to begin. Jessica knew it wouldn't be easy. The battle ahead would be long, and there would be more obstacles. But she was ready, ready to fight for what she deserved, ready to fight for the life she had earned. And as she walked down the street, her phone buzzed again. Another message from Lily. "You're my hero, Mom. I love you." Jessica smiled. She wasn't just reclaiming her life. She was building a legacy. The future was hers to shape. And this time, no one would take it from her. Where do you think Jessica's journey will take her next? Will she get the justice she deserves, or is there more ahead to challenge her resilience? If you enjoyed this story, comment 100 to show your support. Let us know where you're watching from, and feel free to share this video with your friends. Thank you for tuning in to Life Stories.